On this segment, we will discuss some comments made recently by the current Deputy Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Brent Symonette. Family, race, and class are two of the major factors affecting the development of the so called developing states. As we all are aware, in the developing states, there was a population of Africans who were enslaved by a minority of Caucasian and Portuguese, Spanish, and French uh, mercenaries, pirates, and overall psychopaths. Well, basically, due to this history, the development of the status quo and the social order has followed um, the same pathology to the present day. Okay, and why I said that, what we will find is that many of the wealthy, many of the affluent in countries in this region, speaking about the Caribbean, um, many of the economies would be dominated, many of the political organizations would be dominated by many of those who descended from the colonizer, right? And the thing is, we have mostly overcome the incessant racial themes, and we are able to form a society in which people can interrelate to a degree of harmony that we can sustain. But our brother, the good deputy prime minister, has basically said that, he does not believe that the Bahamas is ready for a white prime minister. Okay, now clearly the country was ready for a white deputy prime minister because he exists. He is currently in that post right now, right? His father was the former premier of the Bahamas. The premier is basically the predecessor of the prime minister office. Basically, the premier basically followed the same protocol. Um, he basically was a representative of Her Majesty's government. But basically, Brent Symonette is saying that the Bahamas is not ready for a white prime minister. Now let's look at this statement very closely and very carefully, because he made these remarks as a deflection as he was being pressed about allegations of corruption and cronyism, in which he had been receiving contracts through his company for civil works, right? And somehow, he's been in politics for many years, so it's not surprising that he was able to employ such crafty spin. But at that time, what he did was he diverted the discussion to um, saying that the Bahamas is not ready for a white prime minister, right? And he's endeavoring to give the impression that we have a population of people who are so underdeveloped, who are so behind the eight ball, that something that he views as being natural, something that he views as being necessary, something that he views as something with good potential, I believe he feels it won't be achieved due to the mood of the people, due to the sentiments that we currently hold about the colonial history and the history of slavery. Okay, and as this call attempts to interrupt my video, I would just like to close with my sentiments about the statement. And in my opinion, I don't think you can really blame the descendants of this condition for having um, some uncomfortable feelings about putting a white person in the prime minister post in a majority black country. It just seems like, um, I don't think it's impossible. I think it should be possible for anybody who has the best interest of the people to hold high office. But I would just like to submit to my subscribers that I think, you know, you can't really blame people for being uncomfortable when you know the history of our abuse and oppression has been so lengthy. So we should really be careful not to overlook our history and not to have people totally disregard history and make the oppressed people feel like somehow they need to catch up when in fact we were being oppressed for many years. So our people were kind of uncomfortable with being ruled by the direct descendants of those who operated a corrupt government, a government that operated on colorism and racist discrimination. So people, let me know what your thoughts are about all of this in the comments below. One love.